Hey Josh said, how y'all doing? Steve. Paul, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Hey Sharon. Hey, Diogo. Hey, everybody. Oliva Suvi Melania. Yeah, Alex. So the idea of this pipe is going to be like a apple sort of slash egg kind of shape, and this is going to be, hopefully, this was an extra wide piece of faux ivory which started off much bigger diameter, like 40 mil, and I turned it down and then obviously put it on the shank. But it's going to be a teardrop, so one side is going to be pointy, the other side round. I don't think I've done that before. It's a very Danish kind of thing, so I'm going to be trying that. And I'm kind of tempted to do a carve blast, but the grain is looking very promising, so we'll see. I actually like the carve blast finish for its own merits, not just when you've got flaws. I think it's a nice finish. But we'll see. How have you all been today so far? I've had two of my kids home today. Not been so well. Been okay, sort of on the recovering sort of side of things, but not quite there yet, enough to go to school. And my older daughter is on a residential trip. So it's just two kids and my wife, so we decided to go out for supper. And it was okay. It was nothing special. Kind of picked the wrong restaurant, but not the end of the world. Good, I'm glad, said. Mum and Dad have moved back home and doing as well as can be expected. Popped in today, spent some time with my dad. My mum was out having treatment. Right, let's move over and get some work done. I decided not to do the teardrop. I didn't want to. I was happy with the way it looked. So I decided to leave it. Some nice grain. I might do an what's the name, Cumberland. I'm not sure. I haven't really decided. It really doesn't matter because it's obviously not going to be as wide as that. I can do any stem on this, so we'll see. Happy with that as an outline shape. Now we'll just sand it. Actually, I might just go back on the sander for a sec. Excuse me. This feels beautiful. Such a nice shape. Very, very clean piece of briar. Pretty much pristine. I haven't found a single flaw on it, and hopefully it will continue that way. Let's take a bit more off that side. Okie dokie. We can jump to 400. I managed to do that all on the phone. Let's find some 400. The hell? How you doing? KY? Yeah, it's starting to really take shape very nicely. I mean, the shape's there now. It's just sanding now. Giving it a little bit of an egg kind of shape to it. So although you sort of drill it normally, but when you sand it, you shape it so that it gives it a bit of forward inertia. It looks like it's kind of sort of forward canted. So you have this side coming a little bit straighter down, whereas that side is still quite slanted. So you can see that's more slanted than that side, and it kind of gives it that forward motion. I could even come down a little bit straighter, but I don't want to. I think the shape is nice. It's got a really nice sort of line there, and it looks good. Alexa, LBC.
LBC London from Global Player.
Strategy, but we're all kind
I'll
of
tell you what,
feeling
BP
more.
have answered that question themselves. BP has said not a single pound of investment that they were going to make in the British economy, in the British energy sector, would be removed if there was a one-off windfall tax.
Well, that says it all.
So, what does it say to you?
I'm not sure, Tom. I'm really not sure, actually, as I think through this. We have to look at balancing the books.
Yep.
And as we look to it today, there is a lot of money that the government has put into the UK.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure what's left.
But who's it
In
balanced
terms
on?
of-
It's balanced on those people currently who really, really cannot afford it, who are being effectively told, listen, you're just going to have to get through. See you on the other side.
I don't believe, I have to say this, I don't believe that it's not going to just be down to the individual taxpayers. I think there will be, at a point, they will have to look at corporations and see where other taxes are going to be
So
paid.
let's look at the massive energy companies who have described themselves as having more money than they know what to do with, cash machines, who have, in response to the claim from the Prime Minister that their investment into the British energy sector, massively needed investment, would be deterred by a windfall tax, one-off, have said, no, it wouldn't, we carry on investing, we need this too. Let's go for them.
However, I think they have said that they are going to invest in sustainable energy for, things going
They
forward.
want to make money from that too.
Of course, there's an
And they said
opportunity
that
there.
the BP have said that they're not a single pound of investment that they had earmarked, 18 billion quid, into the UK energy sector would be deterred by a one-off windfall tax. So
That said, over the long term, is it going to be a deterrent to people? You see what I'm saying? You know, in the long term, we might have to disagree here.
I think we're close to agreeing. I think you're trying to create a reason to disagree, but that you can't justify it for yourself.
I don't believe in a windfall tax at this present time. I think we have to see
I
how
spent most of my
the
time doing
situation is
that.
going to
KY
play
looking for the
out,
tool they just put down.
and then work through what's going to
I'm
happen
with you
from
on that
there.
one.
And as we wait for the situation to play out, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people jump up and down, even more, cry for help, cry for some support, extra support, and they're told to wait because, don't know. Caroline, thank you.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock, Boris Johnson's been criticised for not using the Queen's speech to support those struggling with the rising cost of living. The address set out by Prince Charles claimed the government's programme would build the foundations for decades of prosperity. Morgan Shondell-Nair, Directors of Operations for the free market think tank, the Adam Smith Institute, told LBC that one of the reasons why the cost of living crisis didn't perhaps feature so prominently.
His manifesto commitments were cut off at the knees by COVID, so he's got all of these things that he pledged to achieve, like leveling up, that he just hasn't really gotten a chance to. I don't think that that necessarily is an excuse for not dealing with the other current crisis we have, but you can see why he's doing that. He needs to appeal to his base. He needs to show that he's doing those things that he promised he would when he was elected.
Lots of the measures, too, were the same as the 2020 Queen's speech. Alex Thomas is Programme Director at the Institute for Government. He told LBC there are various reasons for it.
COVID, the pandemic, lots of parliamentary time has been taken up with that. And so you might expect to see some of those bills reappear. Another is that there were a number of carryover bills, as they're called, so bills that move from one session to another, where the government doesn't have time to get it through, either because they've introduced them too late or because they had lots of rebellions, either in the House of Commons or the House of Lords.
The Foreign Secretary says the UK won't shy away from taking action on the post-Brexit Northern Ireland Protocol. Liz Truss thinks current proposals from the EU don't address the issues which are now causing a stalemate over a new power-sharing agreement being reached at Stormont. She says the plans from the bloc just mean more checks, paperwork and disruption for some goods which cross the Irish Sea. Leonid Kravchuk, the man who led Ukraine to independence, has died at the age of 88. He was the country's Communist Party boss in the waning years of the Soviet Union before holding the Ukrainian presidency in the early 90s. He's thought to have been in poor health and had a heart operation last year. And Liverpool have moved back level on points with Manchester City at the top of the Premier League after a 2-1 win at Aston Villa. They're second on goal difference, though. LBC weather, cool and breezy with showers, particularly in the north tonight, cloudy and patchy rain in the south with a low of 7. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrow.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
evening to you. It's just gone 11 o'clock. You're listening to Late Nights. Tom Swarbrick here on LBC. Thank you very much for your call to that last hour. I really enjoyed it. Spirited stuff. I want to carry on the conversation about the government's difficulties in just a moment. I'm going to say it. I'm going to mention the B word, and I'm going to apologise in advance. Stick with it. Don't just roll your eyes and reach for the radio.
Yes, Brexit.
You're going to enjoy it. During the hour, though, I do want to touch on what is the end of an era. It's happened. I can't really believe it. It makes me incredibly sad that this has happened, because I have owned a FIFA game since 1996. Almost every year. I'm not sure they made one in 1997. I really don't. I got FIFA 1996 for Christmas one year. That ended my childhood. We got FIFA 1998, for my money, the best of the FIFAs, because it not only had the World Cup ability, but you could also play indoors. FIFA, though, is to end. EA Sports is going to break away from the football body because it says the cost of the licensing is just way too much, and so they're not going to do it. We'll have an obituary on the life that was FIFA in about half an hour's time. I reserve the right to change my mind about what we're doing in an hour. I did want to talk about these so-called microaggressions are as bad as overt hatred, according to NHS workers, or at least that's what they've been told. But I'm very interested in what Musk has said about Trump. Elon Musk, who, as you know, is about to purchase Twitter, has said that it was morally wrong to ban Donald Trump from being on that site. And I think that takes us down a route of who polices the public square, whether or not it should be policed at all. Might talk about that a bit later as well. So, pull yourselves together, pour yourself a stiff drink or whatever you want. We need to talk about Brexit. The UK government is poised to unilaterally withdraw from the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, who is responsible for the negotiations, has actually issued a press release tonight, really lengthy press release going through some of the issues. Saying, quotes, the current EU proposals fail to properly address the real issues affecting Northern Ireland and in some cases would take us backwards. Prices have risen, trade is being badly disrupted, and the people of Northern Ireland are subject to different laws and taxes than those over the Irish Sea, which has left them without an executive and poses a threat to peace and stability. The answer cannot be more checks, paperwork and disruption. Our preference has always been for a negotiated solution, but will not shy away from taking action to stabilise the situation in Northern Ireland if solutions cannot be found. As you know, the executive in Northern Ireland hinges on this issue of the Northern Ireland Protocol, that bit of the Brexit deal that Boris Johnson told Northern Irish businesses would not result in checks on the Irish Sea. What has it resulted in? Checks down the Irish Sea, because that is the deal that he signed. The unionist parties in Northern Ireland have been very angered by that and so are refusing to form an executive after these elections until this issue of the Northern Ireland Protocol is dealt with. How will the UK government deal with it? Well, at the moment, it seems like they'll just withdraw completely, unilaterally, from this deal that they signed up to, with all the consequences that might involve. And I just wonder, again, it sort of takes on some of the themes from the last hour, to be honest with you. If this deal and the way in which it is being interpreted is hurting a part of this country, Northern Ireland, is not the UK government absolutely within its rights to say, well, we cannot have this for the people that we represent, so we're just going to withdraw? If it's hurting people, because I think if you were to filter this through most other things, so if those of you who are not particularly Conservative voters and don't like the Conservative Party, whatever, if this were about anything else, if this were about another issue where it was clear that damage was being done to a group of people, and the government allowed that damage to continue because not ending the damage would be politically very difficult and come with all kinds of consequences and not be seen as being very good, I think a lot of people would be jumping up and down and up in arms about it. Put it through the Brexit prism, this Northern Ireland Protocol is bad, it's not working, it's damaging businesses in Northern Ireland, they can't take advantage of some of the VAT workarounds that Rishi Sunak put forward in the spring statement the other day, because it can't be applied because Northern Ireland is still in the customs union, in effect, of the European Union. Why how can the UK government do nothing if it's hurting people, if it's affecting business, if it's upset, if it's dividing the United Kingdom? And yes, of course, we can talk about the fact that Boris Johnson signed the damn thing, and so should have known, should have been straight with people, and wasn't, deliberately so, I think, straight with people. But that really doesn't get us anywhere. Doesn't take us any further forward. Do you think the UK is ultimately right if they can make a good case that it is damaging Northern Ireland to pull out of this part of the treaty, with whatever consequences come? 03456060973. Raoul Ruparel is former Europe and Brexit policy advisor to Theresa May. He's now the Director of Trade and Investment for the auditing company Deloitte. Very good evening to you.
Good evening.
I feel like, Raoul, we're going to go back in time here and drag up all the stuff about the Northern Ireland Protocol, Article 16, and possibly even the backstop. Do you know what specific parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol the government might want to do away with, or would it be the whole thing?
So I think there are a few particular parts. The first is probably Article whatever it is, which refers to sort of the customs border between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So they certainly look to suspend or remove or alter that part of it. I think the next part would be the articles relating to the regulatory border. So this is things sort of requiring checks on food moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. They also want to alter that. I think they would also want to address the articles on state aid, which keeps some of the EU state aid regime in Northern Ireland, but also which raised concern that it could reach back into Great Britain and affect some companies in Great Britain as well. And then also they may look to address the role of the European Court of Justice, although I think if you remove and address the first three areas I mentioned, the sort of role for the Court of Justice falls away because you're removing a lot of the EU law that is involved in North Ireland, so they may need to address that directly. But I think those 3 or 4 areas are probably the ones that the government is going to look to address. And then obviously the question is, what do they try and replace them with?
Presumably, those are the exact areas that Liz Truss has been speaking to Šefčovič about, that the EU and the UK have gone back and forth over. If there isn't any movement from the EU side to where the UK wants to be on those things, how possible is it for the UK to say, right, well, we're not going to do that, we're going to unilaterally remove ourselves from those bits, but not the entire thing?
So I think the UK could unilaterally suspend or alter parts of the protocol that are sort of and how they apply in UK law, and the rest of it would still exist. The EU then has the option in terms of retaliation whether it might want to seek to terminate or itself remove some of the other articles. But if you look at those articles and the rest of the protocol, there are things like the common travel area between the UK and Ireland and protection of rights and things like that, which I don't think either side would want to suspend. So I think more likely their retaliation would take place through things like the trade agreement, where the EU may look to suspend the trade agreement in full and try and take retaliation.
Oh, we just lost that bit at the end there, Raoul. But so what this could, whether it's the parts that you've identified or perhaps even the whole thing, the likelihood that if the government moves unilaterally on any of this, there is a good chance that we enter during a cost of living crisis into what is in effect a trade war.
Yeah, so I think there is the EU will have to retaliate in some form. I think a lot depends on exactly what the government does. It's talking about bringing forward legislation. Now, this legislation may just give the government the power to do these things in the future, in which case the EU probably won't retaliate immediately. But if the legislation actively starts undoing these parts of the protocol we've talked about, then I think the EU will look to retaliate, firstly on the ground, probably in terms of, going slow at the borders, making it harder for stuff coming into the EU, and then taking some of the more extreme steps, possibly like terminating the trade agreement in the medium term that I mentioned. So, yeah, it is also adding to that. And we shouldn't forget, amongst all of this, it means there probably won't be a government formed in Northern Ireland. No executive will be formed. It creates a huge amount of uncertainty for businesses in Northern Ireland as well. So, amongst all of this is often forgotten on the ground in Northern Ireland, there'll be a lot of uncertainty.
To what extent can it genuinely be argued that it is the EU's over-interpretation of some of what is in the Northern Ireland Protocol that has led to this situation? That had they been more relaxed in the manner in which the UK would like, in the manner in which perhaps the UK thought they would be ultimately, this wouldn't have happened?
Look, I think there's definitely some of that. I think if you speak to businesses and work with businesses I have over the last couple of years in Northern Ireland, they clearly don't want to see the sort of full-fat implementation of the protocol that the EU is calling for. They are relatively happy with the current arrangement of this informal standstill where you have grace periods, which mean that some parts of the protocol aren't fine in full, for example, on agriculture and other bits and pieces. I don't think businesses want to see any additional carbon beyond what we have now. So, clearly, there is a sense that the full implementation will be quite difficult to business. So I do think during this process there was a hope that you might look more practically and look worse at everything around. That being said, of course, the overall outline of the approach has been known for some time. And whether, people should look it up entirely is the right answer to that is another question.
I guess the argument might be put like this: if this is doing damage to the people of Northern Ireland in that they can't form an executive, regardless actually of the political argument in Northern Ireland about that, what choice does the UK government really have other than to take unilateral action?
So personally, I think the UK government could, things were moving in the UK government's direction because of the outcome of the election and the sort of ensuing difficulty in forming the executive. And I think that does give a strong case to say that there does need to be some change to the way the protocol is implemented to allow an executive to be formed. I just think that going unilaterally immediately before those discussions have taken place, before some time has passed to allow all sides to really see what they need to do. I think some pressure will have to build up and force people to make some concessions. I think UK, superseding all that and just going unilaterally immediately makes the UK government look like the bad guy in this. And that's why I think the approach is mistaken. I think they would have been better to say, as you set out, clearly we need to get an executive up and running. That's not going to happen until we have some more serious conversations about, real changes to the implementation of the protocol. And that's what needs to happen. But I think, unfortunately, they're jumping the gun by going unilaterally.
I noticed that Boris Johnson shook his head and cast his eyes to the heavens when it was raised with him in the House of Commons that doing this unilaterally would affect Britain's standing globally, given that this is an international treaty that the UK government signed up to. Do you think that really matters much? If something called Britain's reputation takes a hit because Britain decides to do something that Britain believes is in its interests?
So, look, I think it's not a great look, obviously breaching any international agreement, but I think people overread into it how much it will affect other negotiations. Fundamentally, Australia, New Zealand, wherever it is, if they are entering into agreement with the UK, they're doing it because they think it's in their interests as well as ours, and they will also have their own recourses within that agreement to ensure it's enforced. So, I don't think, and on top of that also, lots of people recognise that Northern Ireland is a particular, unique and difficult situation. So for all those reasons, I don't subscribe to the view that this has huge read across for our standing in the world. I think some people, particularly the US, might take a dim view of the timing given Ukraine and everything else that's going on. But beyond that, I don't take that read across that some people do.
Do you think, just finally on the nakedly political point, if we don't get to full unilateral withdrawal and resulting trade war, we get to some degree of fudge, which tends to happen in these things. The DUP are not going to be pushed under a bus again. They're going to have their eyes wide open to this. Do you believe that they honestly will come round to something that isn't the Northern Ireland Protocol being junked?
Well, I think we also have to remember that the approach the DUP have taken throughout this has seen their support constantly drop within Northern Ireland at successive elections. If an executive can't be formed, at some point there will be another election. And I think we've already seen the DP paying a price for, collapsing the executive before the election. And, if they were seen to dig in to the point where there had to be another election, would that really benefit them with the electorate? I'm not so sure. So I do think there are factors pushing the other way as well, but that show that at some point the DUP is going to have to come back to the table and is going to have a reasonable discussion about this. So, while their initial stance as always is no, let's dig in, I think at some point they will have to make some move. And I think at the moment, certainly, they would want another election quickly, because I think it's likely that if they're blamed for that, they would do even worse. So for all those reasons, I do think, at some point they will be forced to the table. When that will be and how long it will take, it's hard to say. And I do think we're in for a prolonged sort of period of stalemate and limbo in these kind of negotiations.
Raoul, listen, grateful to you as always. Thank you very much indeed. Raoul Ruparel, former Europe and Brexit policy advisor to Theresa May, now the Director of Trade and Investment for the auditing company Deloitte. Listen, if you're still with us, I realise it's involved, I realise it's late, I realise it's possibly pretty tedious stuff on the face of it, but, if we are going to be in this cost of living crisis for the foreseeable, which we are, with inflation at 10%, which we'll get to, with interest rates looking like they're going to have to rise further, which they will, what's the last thing we could want? What's the absolute last thing that you would seek to accidentally engineer? It's probably a trade war with our biggest trading partner, isn't it? But that is exactly where we could end up. Do you think the government is right to go for it anyway? 11:19.
This is LBC.
Have you lost £3,000 or more in a scam or fraud? Tell CEL. Perhaps you invested in cryptocurrency but were denied access to your profits. If you've been deceived by scammers, we could help you get your money back. Please don't suffer alone. CELsolicitors.co.uk specialise in confidential, no-win, no-fee fraud and scam claims. We listen, we
most
care,
of the time I've
we
got
win.
YouTube
So you're
running in the
struggling with your
background.
mobile connection?
Yes, I've
I
tried
like
everything.
listening
Have you
to
tried
debates,
walking in a circle,
interviews.
standing on a
I don't
chair,
listen to the news that much, I must
shouting?
be honest.
This is ridiculous.
It's the best I can do for you, I'm afraid.
Fear not, Tesco Mobile have got you covered. Get network coverage across 99% of the UK so you can stay connected. This is Supermarket Mobile. Tesco Mobile, every little helps. 99% 4G population coverage indoors and outdoors across the UK. See tescomobile.com/coverage-checker.
What if positive change was only one design away? With Canva, you can design anything. Whether it's a presentation to share an idea, a video to launch a business, or a social post to start a conversation. Millions of people are using Canva to redesign their own world. Some say design is beyond most people's reach. We say it's already in your hands. So, what will you design today? Start designing for free at canva.com.
Failing dental bridges, gum problems and periodontal disease, broken or missing teeth. Don't feel like your life is on hold. There are solutions. Here's Andrew Darwood from the Darwood and Tanner Dental Practice.
Our team provide bespoke solutions to patients with urgent and routine dental needs. We're so happy to see our patients returning to us over the years with their problems resolved and still smiling.
Meet the team at darwoodandtanner.co.uk.
Tom Swarbrick, tweet at LBC.
Actually, Tom, check your facts, says Eugene. The Northern Ireland Protocol is making Northern Ireland doing very well by having the best of both worlds. Check your facts and ask business leaders from Northern Ireland, not Liz Truss. Well, Liz Truss, certainly the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, say that under the EU proposal suggested in October, trading arrangements could worsen and everyday items could disappear from shop shelves. The department cited figures suggesting that at least 200 retailers in Great Britain have stopped delivering to customers in Northern Ireland amid increased trade friction. And I know it doesn't help. It doesn't help work out what to do next. But every time this comes up, it is worth saying, and I think Labour are going to have to bite the bullet on this at some stage and start really jumping up and down about it. The main reason why Northern Ireland is in this position is because Boris Johnson agreed to something that he said previously he would never agree to, and after he had agreed to it, basically lied about the implications of the agreement. And we sat here night after night thinking what political magic this guy possessed, what knowledge and understanding of his deal that he had that no one else seemed to share, that would mean that there wouldn't be checks from Great Britain to Northern Ireland on goods passing within one country. And it turns out that he had no magic and he didn't know. He just bluffed his way through it. Malcolm's in Bodmin. Malcolm.
Hi, John. How are you? All right?
Yeah, good. Your thoughts on what should happen next here?
Well, your opener, Tom, was if the people of Ireland are finding it hard, or the people of Ireland are suffering.
Northern Ireland. We're talking about Northern Ireland here.
Yes, absolutely, Tom. Absolutely. Well, the fact is, Tom, the people of Northern Ireland are not suffering. They're absolutely loving it. Now, for better or I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the only people with the problem are the DUP, and it is simply because they are part of the United Kingdom. They want to be part of the United Kingdom, but they've got a border between the rest of the UK and them. But Northern Ireland, Tom, does not have a problem with the situation as it stands. Everyday life, Tom.
Well, hang on, it does to an extent, because I get people... hang on, Malcolm. I get people ringing up from Northern Ireland saying that thing that I ordered now takes longer to come. The thing that I wanted to buy on the shelves now isn't there. Now, you might think that's a very first world problem, and you're probably right, but it's still a difference created within a country that wasn't there before.
But those things that they want, Tom, from the UK are probably available equally from the European Union, with whom there are no snags at the border, because there is no border, because Northern Ireland is part of the European Union still. And the problem is that Britain's fortunes, forget the DUP and Northern Ireland for a moment, Britain's fortunes, Tom, are not looking good. Our income as a nation each year since about 2016-17 has lost out on around about 87 billion a year since we left Brexit. So it's us, Tom, who are suffering.
Well, Malcolm, hang on a sec.
It's not Northern Ireland, Tom.
No, well, if you're saying that the Northern Ireland people who are struggling to find their goods, it's okay because they're effectively inside the EU and the EU will probably have them anyway, so they could buy them there. We're talking about a policy enacted by a political party that calls themselves the Conservative and Unionist Party. And so and what we're now saying is, well, Northern Ireland isn't really part of the United Kingdom anymore. It's more part of the European Union now.
Tom, there's half of Britain. I'm one of them. I'd like to be with Northern Ireland. I voted Remain. I cannot believe what Britain is doing to itself. I can't believe it. The absolute pretense of this government in the sheer delusion that Brexit is it. No, Tom, it's a disaster. And forget the Remainer and Brexit. It's happened, Tom. But it's no good that the government now standing in Westminster and carping and Liz Truss stomping her feet saying, but Tom, at the moment, there's only about 20 to 30% of regulations being adhered to.
But if I understand that. But if there cannot be an executive formed in Northern Ireland because of this issue, which at the moment there won't be, you've got two options. Either you redo the way in which executive is formed in Northern Ireland, open up the Good Friday Agreement, oh my God, or you change the Northern Ireland Protocol and hope that that persuades the DUP that everything's going to be okay again.
It's as simple as, right? The DUP are not going to be happy until this is my view, and I don't say it with any malice. The DUP will not be happy until there's a border across the middle of Ireland, the island of Ireland, because Tom, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is
this guy's Welsh. What's he?
Well,
it is.
Well, look, Tom, they don't want the border down in the Irish Sea. So where does the border go?
And I'm going to mention it. Unfortunately, it would have been the backstop. The backstop would have been it. It would have avoided a border down the Irish Sea. It would have avoided a border on the island of Ireland. But it would have come with the possibility of Northern Ireland being kept inside the EU's customs union, possibly forever, if the French didn't like it. That was the worry, that it could have been kept in there in perpetuity with no way out, locked in, decided by the EU. Would it have ever got to that stage? Yeah, we'd have to take a risk. But it wouldn't have led to this. Absolutely no way. The complaints that the DUP have now would not have been there had they plumped and voted for the thing with the backstop. But now we're delving back into the realms of history, which doesn't help us with the present. Brent's in Derby. Brent.
Hello, my friend. This was always going to happen because you had a balanced zero-sum game that was imbalanced. And really, the Conservative Union Party, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, should fix what they've broken because they have successfully and now imbalancing the peace process. And Boris is not going to put it back together. He's playing the Orange Unionist card. He's pretending now he cares all of a sudden about his Orange Unionist brethren over there. He doesn't. And I think they know that. And unfortunately, they're going to use whatever the DUP, whatever they can to get themselves in the position of bargaining. Because unfortunately, the EU and Britain are meant to be neutral arbiters of a peace process. And unfortunately, Britain's got its hands back into the dirty mire of Irish politics, which for centuries was a problem, and it was sorted. And then Brexit came along, and there never should have been a Brexit until they had an agreement sorted out before Brexit. And that's the mistake that was made. And everything else that's going to come afterwards, Tom, is going to be an absolute mess.
Can I just read you just a statement from the EU's Mr. Sefcovic on this matter? He says the protocol as a cornerstone of the withdrawal agreement is an international agreement. Its renegotiation is not an option. The European Union is united in this position.
The Good Friday Agreement is an international agreement between the British, the Americans, the EU, and they've broken that. So they break that international agreement. What does that say about the Good Friday Agreement? You understand that there are people in Northern Ireland who rejected violence to pursue democratic methods. And all of a sudden, one of the arbiters of that was meant to be the British government, who were meant to be neutral. But when Theresa May gives £1 billion to the DUP, when you have Boris going over there and having drinks with him and making promises, basically he's gambled. And he's gambled with Northern Irish peace process. That is unforgivable. History is going to judge him as very bad with us. And I'm sorry, that's just the way it is, Tom. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I can see how you can take a few steps to get to the point where you say he's gambled with the Northern Ireland peace process. I see that. But I think the first thing he's gambled with is the unity of the United Kingdom. That's the first gamble. He's literally, we are in the astonishing position of the government in Westminster being able to bring in some tax cuts that cannot apply in certain parts of this country. And that's just absolute insanity.
I think you're under some illusion that the United Kingdom actually still technically exists, that Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Did you not watch what happened during COVID? I think in Scotland, they're practically ignoring him. I think in Northern Ireland...
There's devolution on different matters, yes.
But no, did you ever see at the bottom of TV screens that says excludes NI? People in Northern Ireland have been excluded from the United Kingdom for a long time when it comes to rights, when it comes to... But the Cape situation, when it suits the DUP, they're not British all of a sudden. When it comes to gay rights, for instance, or gay marriage. And all of a sudden, they're British when it comes to a border. That's the problem with this. You have to apply all the way. So they want the United Kingdom and take all of the United Kingdom, but they don't. They like to pick and choose.
All right. Brent, listen, great call. Thank you very much indeed. 03456060973. Very keen to hear from you who voted leave. What do you want to see happen next? I mean, not saying it's on you, but you did vote for it. This version of it, this iteration of what Brexit means is not your fault. But where do you want it to go next? Kerry in Waterloo, Tom, I'm a Leave voter. Brexit is a mess. The withdrawal agreement should be thrown in the bin and renegotiated for a better outcome for all. Oh, give me strength. Still to come tonight, EA Sports. It's in the game. For fans of the FIFA video games, full time is approaching. EA Sports have confirmed the next FIFA will be their last. We'll find out why and what will replace it after this. It's 11:31. News headlines on LBC. Serena Farrow.
The Labour leader has accused Boris Johnson's government of being too out of touch to make the changes the UK needs. Sir Keir Starmer has been addressing the Queen's speech. Prince Charles set out the planned legislation earlier with a heavy focus on the economy, but there was no help for households struggling with rising inflation. The Foreign Secretary says the UK won't shy away from taking action on the post-Brexit Northern Ireland Protocol. Liz Truss thinks current proposals from the EU don't address the issues which are now causing a stalemate over a new power-sharing agreement. And one lucky person's become the UK's biggest ever national lottery winner, scooping £184 million in the Euro Millions. The jackpot win instantly makes them worth more than footballers such as Harry Kane and Paul Pogba combined. LBC weather. It's going to be pretty dry overnight, though a few showers in the north and little patchy rain in the south. A low of 7 degrees.
This is LBC.
Let me tell you, you're either the big cheese or you're a small fry. That's New York. You don't settle for second best. Take this bagel, for example. You think I'd have anything other than New York? Some lousy imitation? You ask me, you make it any other way, you shouldn't even be allowed to call it a bagel.
Sir, hey, change or not?
Excuse me. New York Bakery Company. It's New York or nothing.
YouMove is the UK's #1 clinically proven joint supplement for dogs, already helping nearly 2 million dogs every year. Try for a month today for just £5 and get up to 40% off future orders. Delivered free, straight to your door. Enjoy a more active dog in just 6 weeks or your money back. Guaranteed.
I like the way you move.
See youmove.co.uk for verification data, terms and conditions. Subscription auto-renews unless cancelled.
From getting the oven cleaned to your carpet steamed, visit Airtasker and find people with the skills to get your spring clean.
Waitrose believe that low prices are not the only essential when it comes to your groceries. That's why 80 essential Waitrose original blend tea bags for only £1.10 are 100% fair trade. And 2 pints of essential semi-skim milk for 95p are from free-range British cows. Find hundreds of products in the essential Waitrose range. Quality you'd expect at prices you wouldn't.
Selected lines and stores, subject to availability. Prices may vary in Little Waitrose, Channel Islands and concessions. Wearing glasses can make you look intelligent.
That's right.
But not in William's case.
What? Sorry, what?
William knows pi to 30 decimal places. Yeah, he knows the whole of Hamlet's soliloquy and he knows how to rebuild a car engine.
It's true.
But he didn't know that stylish, well-made glasses start from £19 at Specsavers. So his expensive glasses that he bought elsewhere just make him look a little bit daft.
Oh dear.
Complete single-vision glasses from £19 at Specsavers. You know you should.
This is LBC with Tom Swarbrick. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Howard in Lisbon, Northern Ireland, I'll come to your call in just a few moments, but I want to just take a few moments to remember an old friend. A friend who, for me anyway, has been there for many, many years and was an important part of my childhood, my adolescence, hell, even my student days. It's become, I haven't spent much time with this friend recently because 2 young children and job and what have you, and maybe I need to grow up, but nevertheless, I want to spend some time remembering them because this will be, next year's will be the last ever FIFA game. The publishers, Electronic Arts, say it's going to stop making FIFA-branded football titles. It is one of the most profitable brands in gaming history, but the cost of the license is one of the reasons why the decision was made to ditch the partnership. A partnership I have experienced, well, since the early days. FIFA 96.
Being played by Gabriel. Oh! Superb goal by Wijnaldum.
Naomi Kyle is a video game
Alexa,
journalist
stop.
who's the presenter of the online TV series.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to call it a night. James will be on soon. There's the stained pipe. And I'll get cracking on the stem. Have a great evening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Good night, folks.